This is the second part of the video series where we create a line chart with custom markers. In the first video we created the data labels, and in this video we are going to create the design for the entire page in Figma. If you open the Figma file, which you can download from the link in the description, you can see the colors which we are going to use. There are some icons here on the side, and here is the screenshot which we are going to build the design for. We can select it and then go to fill and copy the image. And then let's go to the background and paste it here by pressing Ctrl V. We can remove the white background. And now we can add another frame by pressing F. Or you can come here and select frame and just drag it somewhere here. Also add a stroke to it so we can see what's going to happen with it. We are going to create an auto layout, so select the background and either press down Shift A, or you can come here to the layout and click on this icon, use auto layout. What the auto layout does is that it automatically adjusts the sizes for the frames within this frame when we change the size. Here you can see these auto layout options, the direction, the inner and the outer paddings, and also the alignment. We are going to add the larger padding to it, add 80 pixels on the sides and also on the top and the bottom. Then select the inner frame and change the dimensions to fill container in both directions. And now if you change the background size, you can see that the inner frame automatically adjusts to it. And we are going to use it in the entire dashboard. This is a great feature. Now we can disable this image fill here and let's add another fill. We are going to add the color from one of our colors here. It's going to be this dark blue here. And we can turn it into a gradient color starting from the left down to the bottom right corner. Then let's change the colors. I'm going to copy this also into the other marker, but let's turn the first marker a bit darker, something like this. So it makes it a bit more dynamic, but we can make it even more dynamic by adding some shapes. First of all, we can remove here the auto layout. We are not going to need it anymore. And either press down O on the keyboard or come down here in the menu bar and select this ellipse. And we are going to add the large ellipse here on the top. I select it with the background and move everything a little bit down. Holding down Shift, you can select multiple elements. And if you press I on the keyboard, you can color pick from somewhere on the screen. Let's color pick this light blue here. Then go to the color, change it to gradient. And instead of linear, it's going to be radial. Then copy the top color in the bottom marker as well and make it 0% transparent. Then let's go to the effects here and add a new effect. And we are going to add the layer blur to it with 300 pixels. Also, let's make it a bit transparent, 40% opaque. Moving it like this, make it a bit larger. Now we are going to copy it. You can hold down Alt and let's drag it down there, down to the bottom and resize it a little bit, something like this. Let's make it 30% opaque. I copy it one more time and this is also going to be 30% opaque. All right. Now you can see that two ellipses are in the background already, but let's move also this top ellipse within the background frame. And if you select the background here in the formatting panel in the layout, there is an option to clip content. Make sure that it's on so it cuts the ellipses at the edges. Then go back to the layers panel and make sure that this frame is on the top because this layer order matters. Now the ellipses are covering it. But if you move it on the top, it's going to be above them. It didn't change anything because we don't have a fill, but it has some effect later on. Next, we are going to add the fill to this inner frame. Click on this plus icon and with the color picker, pick this darker blue here. Let's turn it into a gradient, also from top left corner to the bottom left corner. Again, I'm going to copy this color to the bottom one and making it a bit darker. Then let's make it transparent, 20% opacity only. Then add the corner radius of 20 pixels to it. Then let's change the stroke. It's going to be a gradient and the first color is going to be this light blue. And the second one is this bluish gray. Also change the direction to this angle here. And make the entire thing 50% opaque. And the weight is going to be 0.25 pixels. Then we are going to add some effects. First, a background blur with 10 pixel blurriness. Then let's add a drop shadow with 10, 20, 20, and -2. The color is going to be black and 15% opacity. Then we are going to add another drop shadow, a smaller one. So it has this layered effect. This one is going to be the half size from the other one. So 5, 10, 10, and -1. And this one is going to be 25% opaque. If you select the background and turn on the image for a moment, you see what's the composition is going to be. Here on the left side, we are going to have this menu or slicer bar. And then we have these cards here, and then this large visual area for the line charts. Then make sure that the sizes are not on these hug settings, but they have a fixed size. So select fixed width and fixed height. Then press F and create another frame within. And the dimensions from this are going to be fill container in both directions. Also add the stroke to it so we see what's going on. We are going to copy it, press Ctrl D or Ctrl C, Ctrl V. And this one on the left side is going to be 140 pixel wide. And the other one is going to fill the rest. Then select the outer frame and add the padding to the inner areas and also an outer padding of 20 pixel. We are going to start with the left frame, select it. First, let's add the corner radius of 12 pixel to it. Then we are going to add the fill, which is going to come from these two colors. It's also going to be a gradient fill. The first one is going to be this left blue, and the other one is this right blue. Also change the directions. I want to have it almost completely horizontal with a slight nod or a slight tilt. Then select the outer frame again, and we are going to copy the stroke by clicking in this neutral area next to it and copy it back to this element. Press Ctrl V, remove the black stroke, and now we have this stronger stroke. And we can also change the weight to 0.25. Then go back to the outer frame again, and we are going to copy these two drop shadows. Copy them, then go to the inner frame and press Ctrl V. And here we are going to make them smaller. Open the first one, and this is going to be like really small, like 1, 2, 2, 0, and 15%. And then the other one is going to be 2, 4, 4, 0, and 10% opaque. Then let's move to the right frame, select the outer frame again, and we are going to copy the entire formatting from here. Press Ctrl-Alt-C on the keyboard, and select the inner frame and press Ctrl-Alt-V. And we copied all the effects here. First of all, let's change the corner radius, 12 pixels. We are going to make the color a bit lighter, just doing it by hand. Selecting it like that, maybe like this. Here we are also going to make the drop shadow smaller, so let's just copy it from this visual here, select both effects, and then paste it in the other one. We can remove the bottom two drop shadows, so we are only left with this slighter drop shadow. It kind of gives the feeling that it's closer to the surface in comparison to this outer frame, which is like further away from the background. Maybe this ellipse here is a bit too strong, so let's make it 20% opaque instead. In the next step, we are going to add these free KPI cards. So let's press F to create a new frame. We already have the auto layout for this one because we copied it with the formatting. And change the size to 160, add the stroke to see it. And now we are going to copy from this frame all the formatting again. So press Ctrl Alt C, then select this inner frame and press Ctrl Alt V. Here we are going to make the radius a bit smaller, 8 pixels, so they are better aligned with these outer radiuses. Then let's make it a bit lighter. I'm just going to drag this color a little bit up. Also the other one, something like this. Then let's change the dimensions to 160 by 80. We are going to copy it 2 times, press down Ctrl D or Ctrl C, Ctrl V. And here we can change a little bit the outline because it's kind of strong. So I'm just selecting all of them and let's make it 50% transparent. But we are going to change this to overlay. Maybe let's make it 70% transparent instead. Yeah, kind of like this one. And we can do the same also for this frame here. Let's change it to 70% opaque, not transparent, with an overlay. It kind of reflects the colors which is below of it. So now we are done with the shapes. We can add some text to it. For example, we can add the title, press down T on the keyboard or click on this icon here and type expenses. We are going to keep it simple. Select the entire thing by pressing Ctrl A. And it's going to be Segway UI semi-bold, 20 pixel large. And the color is going to be this light blue here. Then we can add an icon to it or this logo. It's not an icon really. And this one is going to be 24 pixel tall. And you see that the dimension changed or the width changed automatically. This is because we have this icon activated, which is this contains string. If this is on, if you change one of the values, the other value changes proportionally. Okay, let's edit here. I'm going to select both the logo and the text and press Shift A to create an auto layout. The padding is going to be 5 between the 2 elements and it's going to be center left aligned. Then select this entire navigation or menu bar and press Shift A again to create an auto layout. And here the inner padding is going to be 30 pixels and the outer paddings are 20 pixels. We are going to have this filter, these 2 filters below of it, as well as this text. And we are going to add a divider to separate this text from the filters. We will create a line. You can press L or coming to the shapes, you can click on the line and then if you drag it, if you hold down Shift, you can make it horizontal. Then we can drag it on our menu and change the dimension, the width to fill container. Then let's change the stroke. I'm just going to copy the color from this background here. This 20% linear, going back to the line and just pasting it here. But instead of the fill, we need it actually at the stroke, so you have to click on the stroke. Let's remove the black stroke and we are left with this very thin line. Maybe it's too invisible, so let's make it 50% transparent. Yeah, I like it. We can make it a bit thicker maybe, so let's make it 1.5 pixels. Next, we are going to add these texts in the KPI cards, actual, forecast and previous year. But to make it a bit more engaging, I added these icons or emojis here. I created these variations from these icons here to match the data colors for the actual, for the forecast, and for the previous year. If you would want to do it yourself, I first look for the icons on this in this plugin called Iconify. If you click here on the Figma icon, then go to plugins and manage plugins. Then you can just search for Iconify and click on run. And how it works, you can just look for some icons. For example, crystal ball was my prompt. And then I looked at which one I like. So I just dragged it on the screen or the canvas. And then I looked into where does it come from, from which icon set. So it's called Fluent Emoji. And then I just went back and looked for an icon set here, which I already did, like Fluent Emoji, going there. And then here I looked for the other icons. So there is a consistency between them. I was looking for coin, that's this one. And then clock was the clock. And how I changed the colors? Well, there is an option here if you click on one of the colors. If you click here, there is this option for you, probably it's on hex. But there are these different color codes, and HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. So the hue is responsible for the color itself. Saturation is like how vivid the color is, like how colorful it is or how grayish it is. And then the lightness is how light or dark it is. So I copied this 212 hue and then came to this visual or this icon and just changed the hue everywhere from the other colors. For example, changing this changes the hue, but it doesn't affect the saturation or the lightness. Then obviously after I finished it, I realized that there is also a plugin to do it. So if you go back to the plugins and look for this adjustments plugin in the manage plugins, search for adjustments, and here we can change the hue if you want, but it doesn't work that way that we add here the 2012 because it just changes the degree of it. I don't know how it works exactly, but what I figured is to, for example, I create something, a frame, and I know that this has the 2012 hue. Then I come back here and check the hue of this color, which is like 37, 39. They have a little bit different hues, so it's not going to be perfect, but let's see. So I'm going to subtract, for example, 40. I just calculate here in Figma. This is also really cool stuff that you can just do calculations when you give in values. So 2012 minus 40, that would be 172. Okay, I don't need this frame anymore. And then I select this coin again and add here or type here 172. And it changed all the colors we wanted, except some yellow colors here, which are coming from the shadows. So seemingly it cannot change the shadows, but then we can come here and then change it manually for the remaining colors. I'm not gonna do this now. I just wanted to show you if you would want to do something similar for yourself. I already added the text here in the proper formattings. We only need to change the color. So let's pick this second grayer color. Like these two are the text colors. So when I refer to the second text color, it's always this gray. Then hold down Shift and select also the coin and press Shift A to create an auto layout. The inner padding is going to be 5 pixels and make sure that it's center left aligned. I already added an auto layout to the forecast and the previous year. So we are just going to change the color. And I'm just going to pick from this here. And now we can move them a bit closer to the background. And starting with the first KPI card, I'm just going to drag it here. This has already an auto layout. And I'm going to change the padding to 10 pixels on each side. Then I do the same for the forecast and the previous year. We are done with this part. So now we can go back to Power BI, but let's export it first. Click here on the plus icon next to export. And normally I would export it as an SVG because that has the best resolution quality. And also it's really small, but some effects are not rendering in it. So we use this layer blur and background blur effects, for example, and they wouldn't render in the SVG. So instead of that, I'm going to select JPEG and going to export it in a double size. So the resolution is going to be better. If you haven't seen the first video, you can still download this Power BI file from the link in the description. This is what we created, a line chart, and I really recommend to watch it because it was a lot of fun, at least for me. But now we are just going to add the design to it. Let's start with importing the background. Go to canvas background and add the image. Make sure that it's fit and remove the transparency if you have any. Then we don't need this text box here anymore, and we also don't need these colors anymore. We will need the colors from the Figma file. We can add them to the theme. Let's go to view, then customize current theme. Then we just need to copy the hex codes, but we don't need it for the color 4 and 5 because I already put them previously here. If you are done with it, just click apply. And a lot of colors have already changed. For example, these line charts and also most of the label colors. This is because we set up the colors in the previous video in this way, so we save some time with it. But we still have a lot to change. Let's start in the top right corner. We have this last refresh label here. We can change the color of it, go to style and select the font color, this second text color. As said, these two are the text colors, so I'm always going to refer to it as second text color or first text color. Then let's go to the year slicer, open the slicer header. The font is going to be Segway UI, only 10 points large. And the font color is going to be also this second text color. Then let's go to the values. Here the size is also going to be 10 points. And the font color this time is going to be the first text color. So we emphasize a little bit what is selected in comparison to the header. We are also going to change the background, but we are going to wait with it a bit because we will need another color for that. So let's move on to this other slicer. This is the slicer to select these data labels. First, we are going to change the header. So go on the visualization pane to format your visual. Then go to general, and the title is going to be data labels. Font style Segway UI. Size is 10 points. And the text color is this second text color. Then go to the visuals, open up shape. The roundedness is okay for us, 5 pixels. We can go to the layout, and the space between the buttons could be also 5 pixels, since we had 5 pixels between the icons and the text before. Having some consistency is nice. Then let's go to the callout values. For this, I'm going to select some of the elements just to see the difference in the states. We can also remove the button fill, like scroll down to the buttons and remove the fill for all of them to see the text better. Then scroll up again. And we are going to change the font size to 10 pixels. And the default color is going to be this second text color. Then let's go to the hover state. And this is going to be the first text color. Then move to the press state. This is also going to have the second text color. And the selected is going to have the first text color. Scroll down after that, open the select icon. Here let's change the layout first. It's going to have 10 pixel size and the spacing of 5 pixels again. Then let's change the color for the default one. This is again going to be the text 2 color. Then let's go to the hover, text 1 color, press, text 2 color, and selected text 1 color. After that, let's scroll down to the buttons. First, let's add 8 pixel padding on the left side. So there will be some gap between the edge and the icons here. Let's add the fill. For the default, it's going to be 100% transparent. Then open the hover state. Here we select the text 1 color and it's going to be 80% transparent. After that, the press state, text 1 color again, this time 90% transparency. And then if something is selected, text 1 again, and 80% transparency. So we have these slight effects here when you hover over it, when you select something also. It's a subtle effect, but I think it makes a difference. And now this is the color I wanted to use for the background here. So I'm going to color pick it. I have these power tools on my computer, so I can just press a keyboard shortcut and pick it from here. Like this. And now I can just come to the year slicer, go to values, background, and paste the color here. If you don't have it and you want to pick a color from the screen, you can just make a screenshot, something like this, and copy the screenshot in Figma. And here, just create a new frame, press I to color pick, and there you have the same color. After that, let's go to the cards. Here we don't have much to do. We can just go to the visualizations pane and format visual, then to cards, and remove the background and the corner. We can also go to the callout values and remove the label, and maybe repositioning it a little bit. Since everything so far was right aligned, I also wanted to have these values right aligned with these icons here. Now we can move to the line chart here. I'm going to select for this all the data labels so we can see everything. And here we don't have changed that many colors. Let's select it, go to formatting, and let's change the x-axis to the text 2 color. Then scroll down to the data labels. And we have to change the colors. Yeah, we have a lot of measures, I know. We have to change it for the endpoints only though, and the all year measures. So let's go to the expenses endpoints. And here we don't have to change the value because we have the correct value, but we can change the background color. And it's going to be this last color in our theme. Then I go up and do the same for the expenses forecast endpoints. Change the background to this dark blue. And as I see here, we have also an issue with the data labels. So we can also change the color of the value. Let's change it to this forecast color, the purple one. Then let's go back to the series and do the same thing with the background for the previous year endpoints. And also the all year, forecast all year, and previous year all year. Only change the background colors. And this is almost perfect, but maybe it bothers you. It might bother me that there is this distinction between the background color of the labels and the background color of the visual. The idea would be that it's not visible. It's only visible if a label is layering, overlapping with a line. And in this case, the label would be still visible. So if it bothers you, you could just pick a color from the background here. I'm going to use this power toys. And yeah, it's a bit tricky with the gradient because the color is different here in comparison to here. So if you change the color somewhere, it might not fit at another place. But we could go back to the customize current theme and replace the color. You could also just create a screenshot again and color pick the color in Figma. Yeah, I think this is better. I could also have my OCD a little bit. And there is one last thing to do, which is the tooltip, because this is kind of, yeah, not possible. So we are going to create a new page. We can call it Tooltip. Then go to the canvas settings, page information, allow use as a tooltip. Then canvas settings, and the type is going to be custom because we changed the size. And it's going to be 160 pixel by 600 pixel. I already know what size we are going to need, so you can just do the same. I'm going to align it in the middle, also zoom in a little bit. Then go back to the line chart. And what we could show is whenever we hover over, let's make it simple. We just want to show the forecast in the previous year for the current month. And maybe also showing whether the value is a minimum or a maximum value. So we can copy these cards here. Let's paste them into the tooltip and leave it as it is for now. We are going to go back to Figma and create the background there. Here we can add the new frame, pressing down F. And the size is going to be 600 wide and 160 pixel high. Then for the color fill, I'm going to select this background here and just copy the fill into the tooltip. I remove the white background and make it 100% opaque. Let's rename it to Tooltip background. We can add an auto layout to it by pressing Shift A. And make sure that here the dimensions are not hug, but they have a fixed width and height. We can keep the inner padding at 10 pixels and add 20 pixel padding on the sides. Gonna zoom in a bit. Let's add an inner frame, pressing F. And let's make the width fill container and the height is going to be 30 pixels. This is a placeholder for a text we are going to have. We are going to have here the month and the year label. Now we can copy these 3 cards, select them all, holding down Shift. And if you hold down Alt, you can drag and copy them and just place them within the frame. Let's change their dimensions to fill width and fill height. And then select the tooltip background and change the direction of the auto layout to vertical. It looks bad, but we are going to fix it soon. Select first this header placeholder and drag it on the top. Then select the 3 cards again, press Shift A to create an auto layout, and then change the direction to horizontal. So this is what I love about these auto layouts. It just makes it so easy to make these adjustments and changes. Now we can export the entire tooltip. Again, let's select twice the size and as a JPEG and import it in Power BI. Here on the tooltip page, let's add it as a canvas background. Image fit is fit and 0% transparency. We can adjust the cards a little bit, kind of in the middle. And as said, we want to show here the date. So let's go back to the line chart. We can copy this label here, the last refresh date, and place it here and go to style. Change the text formatting. We are going to look for selected month measure. This just simply returns the selected month. We can change the font size to 14 points and kind of align it in the middle. And we said, or I said, that it would be also cool to show whether the value in the current month is a minimum or maximum value. For that, we can create another label. Let's copy this button. Let's go to style, and here I remove the text. I'm just going to temporarily add min as minimum. The size is going to be 10 points. The alignment horizontally is going to be in the middle, also vertically. And then we are also going to add the fill. I'm going to resize it so it kind of looks like a tag, little information box. We can adjust a little bit the padding. We can remove the bottom and the top padding, or the top and the bottom padding. And also let's scroll up, open the shape and change the rounded corners to 4% or 4 pixels. Then we are going to copy it 2 times for the forecast and the previous year. Now we can add the conditional formattings. We are going to do it with measures. I already created some measures for it in the fact actuals in the tooltip folder. We have these 6 measures here, one for the label itself, minimum or maximum. If you watch the first video, you are familiar with this code, with these variables. We use it a lot. There is this sum table which returns the expenses, the monthly summed expenses for all the month. If we remove the filters from the month shot coming from the x-axis in the visual, then we calculate based on this sum table the minimum and the maximum value. Then we also calculate the current value, which is unfiltered. One thing which is important is this coalesce, which returns the first non-blank value in this list. So there are some cases, for example, in 2023, we don't have a previous year. So it means that therefore the previous year, the current value is blank, but also the minimum and maximum value is blank. So later in this condition, the current value would equal to the minimum and the maximum value, and therefore it would return the minimum or the maximum label. So that's why we make sure if the expenses is blank, we just add here a random value so that the current is not going to be the same like the minimum and maximum. Also, if they don't match, then it just returns nothing. Then if you go to the label color, it does the same, but instead of returning a text, it returns a hex code. And this hex code is a white with 100% transparency. That's going to be the case when nothing should be shown. Let's go to the first label in the expenses, open style. We will add the text, and here we will search for tooltip. And this is going to be the first one. So we always have 2 for each measures or for each metrics. The top one is the label, the bottom one is for the color. Select the top one, click OK. And then we also change the font color, select field value, and this is going to be the tooltip label color. Click OK. And we also change the color for the fill. It's going to be also this tooltip label color. Click OK again. And we change the transparency to 70%. Now if we go back to our line chart, let's look for something. For example, here we have the max value. Oh yeah, first we have to add the tooltip, of course. Go to Visuals, General, Tooltips, and select the tooltip report page. Then now, if you click there, you see the max value shows. But if you go to some other place, to January, for example, then it's not shown anymore. Let's go back and do the same for the others. Select the label, go to the formatting pane and change the text to this tooltip expenses forecast label. Go to the color, field value, and tooltip expenses forecast label color. Click OK. Do the same for the fill. And we do the same thing for the label in the previous year. Also, don't forget to change the transparency to 70%. Let's go back to the line chart. And let's see how it looks like. So this is it. I hope you liked it. I created a similar video series, 2-part series with KPI cards. In the first we created the visual in Power BI, and then in the second part we created the Figma design. If you want to check it out, you can click here on the video, and see you next time.